I want to take a pause and I want to talk more about a specific issue. One that's a little bit of hypothetical and a little bit of what we're probably going to see a lot of in the fall. You, Ron, we've known each other a long time. I think you're someone who really does see around the corner and sees contours about how to address difficult issues for clients that I always appreciate. So I want to pick your brain a little bit about specifically about data centers, because the one thing we're hearing more than ever is that this is an issue that's going to be difficult for candidates on both sides of the aisle to talk about. In fact, it's the kind of issue that's causing uh, campaigns and candidates to really have to talk about an issue that is incredibly negative in the districts. How do you think about a challenge like that, whether it's for a client or whether it's for a campaign? How do you talk to people about thinking about challenges as we go into the midterm or as we go into a time when issues are fraught? What kinds of things should people be thinking about as they position themselves with an issue that's a challenge?
Yeah, listen, I mean, if you look at data centers, that issue really has not been creeping up. That has been around, and we have been talking about this issue internally with our clients for a while. I'd say that there's no surprises. This could pop up in different districts and states, and now we saw the NRSC putting out a memo regarding the Ohio Senate race and data centers, which is a big deal. So our goal is to make sure on any particular matter that we are, in order to get ahead of it, we do a lot of research and in data. No, not the data centers, but literally research and data to figure out what's tracking out there for voters, what's tracking out there for constituents that really matter across a different number of issue sets. Thinking about what's rising in their concerns. I would say we knew early on that data centers was going to be a big deal in this campaign, in this election cycle, because of the research that we have been doing, led by our head of Intel and Insights, Chris Havens, who has an incredible background. We found by and large, people were concerned about data centers. They were concerned about, data centers and AI and job loss, how it was going to impact their bottom line, how it was going to impact their utility rates and access to energy. We knew that from our polling that we were doing in March. And what we saw over the last, 6 months or so is a real lack of messaging by the data centers. Like, I don't know, I know that there are coalitions out there, they're trying, but nothing has really landed yet and really hit home. And that's allowed opponents to gain ground and to get voters' attention. And I think there's a real opportunity to redefine the message from the data centers. I mean, people want to know what the heck's going on, and when they hear data center, there's a negative connotation usually. So I think right away we would do message testing and look at what are the opportunities that data centers can do to talk about the benefits of building in the area. Loudoun County, for example, which is right out of Washington, D.C., is being now increasing coverage over it because it's the data center capital of the world. We have more than 600, I think, and 50 data centers here. It's been built. They've been building it since data centers wasn't cool. It wasn't cool 13 years ago. Now it's cool. Not cool, but now it's salient. Now everybody's looking at it.
Right.
But it's not going away. And we may see lawmakers getting hit on this issue. We are in Ohio, at least.
The other thing about the word data center is that that's a message that's a thread that has been lost. So now it's about reshaping a narrative, changing the conversation completely. And a lot of what you're seeing, I love that you brought up Loudoun County, because that's a county where they're less about putting data centers in these communities, and the companies that want to build these access points, which are data centers, are looking for ways to be good partners, good stewards. How do they not only come in and build, but also not just build for themselves, but also build for the community?
Well,
Build
yeah,
schools, build opportunities there.
Totally great question. I mean, I think it's a mixed bag when you talk to consumers or voters in Loudoun County. people that live here, I think they see all these data centers going up and they're going, oh boy, here's another big building. Here's another huge building. However, there are billions of dollars in taxes that are being levied on these data centers that are coming through to Loudoun County. And that's translating into massive benefits for the constituents that live there.
Mm,
So that means new athletic facilities, new playgrounds, new libraries. The elementary schools, like there are so much massive new infrastructure that's going on in this county because data centers are contributing to the economy. Now, being a
mhm.
better partner would also mean not just paying your taxes because you have to. I mean, they're being required to. I think also being upfront about, the type of energy that they're using and the type of impact that they're having on the community, making sure that voters understand that, that they're responsible for the energy that they're using and that it's not being
Mhm.
passed along to the consumer. I'd be very upfront about that. That's such a huge point. I think environmentally, there are going to be those that are concerned about the volume of data centers and how it could be, impact the environmental conditions. That's another point I think they would need to think. But more by and large, when you hear data center, you think of a dystopian future where you're having cloudy skies and massive concrete structures and robots and no human beings. And I think it's important for these data centers to humanize themselves, to get spokespeople who can connect with the community, that are identified, that are on television, that are doing town halls, that are on social media, people that are representing these data centers. Because right now, you just think of this monolithic, awful future when you hear about these things.
That's right. And I think also too, they're kind of an icon for how people feel holistically about AI, right? That AI represents a loss of jobs, a loss of opportunity, not correctly, but that is, I think, iconically, data centers are being connected with a more bigger, larger threat to the general economy. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I love that you guys are doing the testing and the work that you're doing behind the scenes to make sure that messages are right. Because right now the data centers are really underwater. As you said, the NRSC has told their candidates, made it crystal clear that this is an issue that has to be done and has to be done right.